Jane, Jim Chalmers is warning Australia has more at stake than most from a trade war, but says Australia is well prepared to navigate the second Trump presidency. Should Anthony Albanese be seeking these trade exemptions or be going to the US to meet with Trump soon?
Well, certainly under a coalition government, that was exactly what happened. Under the previous coalition government and a new Trump administration, there were tariffs put on specific metals, and coalition forces went out, spoke to Trump directly and secured an exemption for Australia from those tariffs. We would hope that the Albanese government will be doing similar in order to make sure that we have that special relationship that is maintained between Australia and the US. You know, it's a very deep and abiding relationship. It's started with ANZUS, it's been strengthened through AUKUS. We have to make sure that whoever is in the White House and whoever is in the Lodge can maintain and deepen ties with this important ally for Australia.
Are you concerned about a looming trade war with China?
We would hope that that wouldn't come to that we have a normalisation of relations with China, who again is also an important trade partner with Australia. As I said earlier though, Holly, my most important concern, what's keeping me awake at night, is that Australia is a less economically resilient country because of mistakes that the Labor government have made, because they came into government saying that the cost of living and productivity were their number one issues, and yet cost of living has gone backwards, that productivity has gone backwards, and that has left us more vulnerable to international economic circumstances and environment. Because we have failed to get inflation down, because we've failed to get interest rates down, and we're still seeing inflation not expected to get back to band now until the end of 2026 in a sustainable way, that should be our number one concern. This has been a failure of this government to focus on what's important, not just to our, to ordinary Australians who are feeling it in their pocket, but also to our economic prosperity for the future in Australia. They've failed to get inflation under control. They've failed to get interest rates down, and all Australians will pay the price.
I mean, I was just going to ask you that about potentially a rate cut soon here. I mean, lots of people would be hoping for that because of lower inflation and the UK and US cutting rates just last week. Jane, we do have to wrap things up, but I want to get your thoughts on something. It's been revealed Anthony Albanese's public sector splurge has cost taxpayers an extra $5 billion. Now, Public Service Minister Katie Gallagher defended these numbers, saying that the Albanese government had been rebuilding the Australian public service after a decade of neglect by the former coalition government. What do you say to that?
Big government isn't always better government, Holly, and what we've seen is an explosion in bureaucracy, particularly in Canberra, because of the Labor government, at an enormous cost to taxpayers, around $5 billion, according to these latest ABS figures. And yet at the same time that we've seen, according to the government's own budget figures, 36,000 new public servants come online in Canberra, we haven't seen an improvement to services. I don't think that there's many Australians out there that would believe that they're 36,000 public servants or $5 billion better off. In fact, wait times for things like getting the age pension have blown out to almost double the wait times that were under the coalition government. So big government isn't always better government, and I think it's up to the Albanese government to not just defend the numbers, but to defend the services that they're providing, which haven't improved.
Okay, Jane Hume, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks, Holly.